How's it going, guys? Today we're gonna go over all of the new loaner decks you could be getting if you just started playing Hearthstone or if you're returning after 90 days of not logging in. I'm gonna go over all of the 6 decks, talk about how meta relevant they are, as well as how much dust you can expect out of them, which is also a pretty important factor when choosing these, because one costs about 2,000 and another costs about 10,000 dust, so yeah, you do the math. Anyway, if you enjoy the game and you would like to get better at it, you can definitely drop a like and subscribe to the channel, and I'll do my best to make you a better Hearthstone player. I am a Hearthstone coach, YouTuber, and streamer, so you can definitely expect a lot of valuable videos out of me. But now, let's get into this one.
You are not prepared!
Starting off with Starship Death Knight, this deck honestly is not exactly meta relevant right now. It's not that expensive either, it costs about 5,200, so definitely not too expensive overall. We do have some pretty nice cards in here, like Reska, like Exodore, but that's about it in terms of legendaries, so definitely not too much value either, so I can safely say this is not gonna be a great pick for most. For starters, Reska, she's rotating in a couple of months, so much for that. She's gonna be about 400 dust for you once you disenchant her. And also Exodore, this is a free card from the reward track, so you should be able to farm this one as well on your own. So again, not much value there either. Honestly, it's a pretty bad choice if you ask me all around. Like, bad for meta, not too much dust in it, and yeah, question mark on the third finger, I don't know what that was about. The things that this deck has for it, you are having some starship pieces, but they're not really exactly meta, at least right now. So all around, I would definitely not be going for this deck if I were a new player or if I was returning to the game. Death Knight is a fun new class, but I don't think this is the deck you should be playing, even if you're just coming back to the game. So yeah, I think this is a pretty bad one out of the 6 we have. Next up we have Shaper Discover Hunter, which is actually a very top meta deck. Even in top legend people are playing this, or at least a very similar variant to it. And the thing about Shaper Discover Hunter is this is a new archetype, like it just came out from the last expansion. So I think it's gonna be pretty future-proof. The rotation is not gonna hurt it as much as some of these other decks. Like, yeah, it is gonna lose a few cards here and there, but the archetype is new, like I said, so I do believe the archetype will receive more support. And it's also not very cheap. Like, this thing all around costs over 8,000 dust. And we have Ziliax in here, which is arguably the best legendary in the game right now, just because it's basically 10 legendaries for the price of 1. Like, this card already got nerfed 5 times, was it? And I'd assume it's gonna get nerfed at least a couple of more times during its lifetime. But yeah, it's an absolutely amazing card. And for this deck, it's no different. It is definitely an absolute beast of a card. We also have Agramar in here. He is an amazing Titan. The bad thing about him is he is gonna rotate in a couple of months, but hey, it's 400 dust for you still, and you are gonna get to have fun with him for a couple of months, so can't say no to that. We have Grifta, also super meta-defining card, like one of the best legendaries in the game still. Same with Gorgonzormu, even though I do believe he was free. Exarchaniel, absolute monster of a card as well. One of the best legendaries in the game, especially for the class, it's probably the best legendary right now, at least if you are into the Discover shenanigans. And even if you're not, cards like this definitely are pretty nice. Even if you're not running the exactly optimal variant of a deck, this would be a nice little replacement for you if you have it, and with this deck you will. So all around, deck top tier, both from Diamond to Legend, in Legend, like Bronze to Legend, all of that stuff, you will be climbing with ease with a deck like this. The skill cap, more like the entry level for this deck, not that high. The skill cap I'd say is very high, but let's not bore you with things like that. What I mean by skill cap is you gotta be really good to really do good with this deck, but you can definitely win a lot of games without being really good with the deck either, so there's that. And like I said, the deck is pretty expensive to begin with, so getting this one for free gives you a lot of resources, and if you enjoy the Hunter class, this is a very nice option for you. And you could use a lot of these cards to build something cheap, like a Secret Hunter as well, because you do have things like Titan Force Traps, Vicious Litter Spears. So all around, very nice deck, and you could be pivoting into other archetypes from it as well. Deck number 3 is honestly another absolutely horrible option. This is the cheapest out of the lot, sitting at 2,800 dust, single legendary in here, and it's super niche too. Like, this legendary is only gonna be worth for you if you are playing an elemental deck. And it's not a bad deck, but the reason why this is not a bad deck is it's basically free. So why the hell would we be picking this as our loner deck when you can literally just craft this with just 2000 dust, basically. The other downside to this deck is a lot of these elementals are actually rotating out of standard, so what's the point of picking the cheapest deck for a couple of months? Yes, it's strong. Yes, people do hit legend with it even now. But all around, it's a horrible option to be getting as a free deck. And also, another scummy thing here is there are more expensive variants of this deck. Like, honestly, I would not have been mad if they slapped in a couple of bad legendaries in here. Like that 5-mana Shattered, what's his face? A legendary, I've seen people run it. And also a couple of epic giants at the bottom, just so we can bump up the price a little bit more competitively. But no, this is the pretty bare bone. Bunch of commons, bunch of rares, and a single Saroon deck. So all around, absolutely horrible choice for you. Good for the meta, very bad for rotation, very bad for cost. So all around, very bad choice. But it's not a bad choice to craft it, don't get me wrong. You can definitely climb easy legend with this one. It's very simple, so at least you have that going for it, but I would definitely not recommend anybody getting this deck as their loner deck. On the number 4 spot, we have a nice little mix of Libram Lionessa Pally. This is a Libram Tourist Pally, basically, because we are running Sunsnapper Lionessa, and this, again, is a new archetype, so it should not be getting as hurt from the rotation as some of the other options. Right now, this is not the strongest deck out of the lot, for sure. It is definitely decent. I do believe you can hit legend with this one if you really wanted to. You're not gonna see this in top legend, that's for sure, but then again, we're talking about loner decks, so why do I even keep on repeating top legend stuff? All around, the play pattern for this deck, it's a fun one. It's definitely enjoyable. You get to do some pretty big boards pretty early. The skill cap for this one in particular, not as high, so you should be having an easy time getting into this one. But there are variants of this deck that require a lot more skill to really maximize on it. So yeah, all around, I think this would be a good option, especially if you enjoy the Pally class. You do have a few good legendaries in here, like Sunsnapper Lionessa, MVP, Sandcastle, super strong, super cool legendary. That's about it for the legendaries, actually. It's only a couple, but we do have cool epics like Living Horizon, who is rotating. Sadly, we also have things like Libram of Divinity, which is another epic, so the price for the deck is not very cheap. It's not a bad thing to be getting for free, but it's definitely not top tier meta situation like the Hunter one was. So I'd say in terms of meta relevancy, good. In terms of price, good. In terms of rotation, good. So all around good choice, not the best though. On the number 5 spot, we have Asteroid Shaman, which is a deck many people consider to be an absolute god. In Diamond Legend, this is considered to be one of the best decks, and yeah, it's strong. It's definitely strong and not very easy to play around. It's not hard to play with, so you have that going for it. And it also has some pretty nice legendaries in here, which are not going to be rotating out, namely Incendius and Shutterblock. Both are pretty decent. I mean, Shutterblock is more of a niche card, but Incendius you can see in right about any class, so it's definitely nice having him. Galganeth, he is a Titan like the Hunter one, so he will also be rotating, or at least should, who knows, maybe. We are gonna see some Titans in the core set, God forbid, like, people have been counting the days when Titans leave. But yeah, Titan is a super strong card, which is gonna be leaving in a couple of months, but that is not gonna hurt the deck. Titan is a strong standalone card, which made all Shaman decks better, but without him, the deck is still gonna function. It's just not gonna have this monster of a legendary in it. Other than that, we also have Blood Mage Talnos. He is a free card, basically. He's core, which means for you 400 dust. You can just disenchant this guy and still be able to play him, just because the core set gives you all of those cards for free anyway. So all around about the deck, it's very good for the meta, very good for rotation, and decent for price. He's priced at 6,400 dust, so it's around in the middle, on the upper half actually. So all around, this is another great option for you. I think they're kind of close. Hunter plus Shaman are kind of in the same boat. Both are working very nicely, very good in the meta, rotation resistant, and all around giving you a bunch of dust for free like that. So would recommend Asteroid Shaman and Shaper Hunter so far. And lastly, we have Odin Warrior, which is the most expensive out of the lot, sitting at above 10,000 dust. But this is Odin Warrior. What Odin is this dude. And this dude is leaving in a couple of months, or at least he should be leaving in a couple of months, unless they decide to print Odin into the core set. I'm not saying it's gonna happen, but I'm not saying it's not gonna happen either. It's definitely a 50-50 was that gonna, how that one's gonna go. The upside in this one, you still have Ziliax, which is the best legendary in the game, and you also have Ceaseless Expanse in here, which is arguably the second best legendary in the game right now, at least in terms of popularity. And we also have the new Ham the Hungry Tourist, which is a Druid Tourist card, which allows you to play a lot of good Druid cards like New Heights, like Sleep Under the Stars, all of that good stuff. Really nice synergy between the two classes in this one. And this is a very control-y deck, so it's not gonna be a deck many would enjoy. But obviously, if you prefer the control-y decks, this is definitely not a bad option. But like I said, if this thing rotates to wild and they don't print it into the core set, kind of the whole point of this deck leaves. Even though it's a very nice control deck package as is, but if you lose your main win condition, I don't know how that one's gonna go. And currently Odin Warrior is definitely not the best deck in the game, that's for sure. It's playable, you can hit Legend with a deck like this, but you have plenty of better options, so there's that. In terms of meta relevancy, I'd say decent. In terms of rotation, decent because you have Ziliax and Ceaseless and Ham, but you are losing Odin, so losing Odin is horrible, getting all of those 3 good legendaries is great, so somewhere in the middle, decent, right? And as for Dust, it's great, so it's an okay option, I'd say. It's definitely better than Elemental Mage and Death Knight, but it's far worse than Hunter and Shaman is what I'm trying to say. So all around, if I had to rate these decks for across the board, like what would be the best option, what would be the worst, I'd say Hunter would be the best, Asteroid would be a close second, Lionessa is gonna be a solid third, Elemental Mage is horrible, Starship Death Knight is horrible like Odin Warrior basically, but Odin Warrior gives you a lot of good cards, so I think this would be the order in which I would be thinking about picking up these decks. It's gonna be different for you guys, like if you enjoy the Hunter class, you're gonna go with this. If you enjoy scammy OTK-ish style decks, Asteroid is great. If you enjoy flooding the board, Libram Pally is nice. If you enjoy control, Odin is nice. But I'd say Starship Death Knight and Elemental Mage are definitely not in the conversation at all. So that's gonna be it for the video, guys. Hope this helps you figure out what deck you want to be picking up as your starter deck. If you enjoyed the video and want to get better at Hearthstone, drop a like and subscribe to the channel, and don't forget you can hire for some Hearthstone coaching. Thanks for watching, I'm Kris05, and I'll see you in my next video or stream.